The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame, with exciting Vol sports prints now available.
You are watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. Maybe it's cold outside. Just sit down, turn on the TV, throw your remote behind the couch, sit there for the next hour as we talk about Vol football, Vol basketball, Vol recruiting, and of course, Peyton Manning. What could be his last game, depending on the outcome of the game, depending on his decision next year. Could be the end of an era. We'll discuss a lot about Peyton Manning in this show. Let's go ahead and get started. Our first segment brought to you by our friends Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. And you can check out Fox Den Village Condominiums, over 11 acres. I think we have a shot here. There we go. Over 11 acres, gorgeous lake views, located on the 15th and 16th greens, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,400 square feet. All for just $179,900. Looking for a home? Get in touch with Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. No word on if the gentleman on the balcony is actually included in the purchase. You can have your first manservant. So there we go. That's Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. Condos, homes, they've got them all. All right, let me introduce the panel here. We have Bob Hodge. Glad you liked that. We have Mike Strange.
I liked it.
Jimmy Himes. Chuck Cavaleris. And Chuck Cavaleris was in charge of building the Manning Shrine today. And I think if we have that somewhere, we do have a shot of Peyton Manning Shrine. If we don't, we'll get to it later. Yeah. It's no big deal. All right.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, very good. The Peyton Manning Shrine in honor of the Vol great. So now everybody's on their knees before their television, bowing before it. All right. Let's start with football, and let's go in chronological order. Alvin Kamara waited till the very last day to post a message on Twitter that he was coming back. I think I'm really throwing our director here because I'm calling for things. They put a message on Twitter that said, "Well, I'm coming back for another year of college football." There it is. What do y'all think? Here's what I think, and I sort of suggested it last Sunday. He was toying with people. I don't think he went to the last minute and was biting his nails and moving his hands over one another, trying to figure out, am I going to stay? Am I going to go? Could be wrong. Maybe he was. From the looks of that, I think he was just saying, "Love me, show me the love." Am I wrong on that? Is that wrong for me to even suggest such a thing?
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. If it had been a question of, are you a first-round draft pick or a second-round draft pick, pretty damn big decision. Come back, maybe you improve yourself, maybe you get hurt, but you're talking about a guy who was maybe a late third, maybe a fourth, maybe a fifth-round draft pick. So, I think in that decision, either you're done with college football or you're not. But no, I'm going to agree with you.
He took it down. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying, if it was, no harm. That's fine with me. Alvin is great in interviews, kind of a fun-loving guy. So if he was having a little fun with it, fine with me.
Even though it toys with fan emotions.
As long as it comes back, it's okay.
Boy, don't toy and leave.
Yeah, don't toy and leave as long as you come back.
Well, when you throw out there about what do y'all think, then you're kind of fishing for
love
in all the right places.
Which again gets back to staying.
Yeah, so I think that was a part of it. I also think one concern for him was I think he is not a huge fan of the academic part of it. And I think that was a consideration for him along the way as to why he was debating this. But whether he can improve his stock, I don't know. It appears to be about fifth round based on NFL people I've talked to.
All right, Chuck, I'm going to throw the next one at you. As we speculated, it was known that Marquez North was leaving. We didn't know for sure that his name was going to be on the NFL draft list, the early entry list. We all assumed that. And it turns out, of course, his name is on there. He leaves, and then oddity of oddity, you lose one receiving Marquez and you get another one. Marquez Callaway commits to Tennessee, 4-star prospect. But back to North, turning pro early, your thoughts on that, Chuck?
I think he's making a mistake. He couldn't stay healthy enough to play at Tennessee, and unless there's other considerations, we talked about how you'd be there at pregame warm-ups. He's in uniform, and it looks like he's going to be ready to go, and then they come out of the locker room and he's not. So if you're going to lose a player from the roster that's going to go pro early, you would probably want it to be him. I wish him the best.
Yeah, wish him the best, but does anybody think he's making the right decision here? I mean,
I kind of think you can take another
decision
decision and say he made the right decision for the reason Chuck said, because he always was hurt. Well, if you're always hurt, and you're going to stay hurt, why not go ahead and give it a chance? He is a good physical specimen. He's a fast kid. Maybe, probably be a free agent. You get a chance to pick where you go to a receiver-needy team. So maybe in a sense it was the good decision for the reason Chuck gave.
And if he does make the team and stick with them, that's what, $300,000 basically is your league minimum
something
now?
like that.
$410 is your league minimum. There's worse jobs out there. So, all right. Moving right along, the Vols pulled an offer from a Memphis commit, Tim Hart, and we'll leave that up for a second so you can read through it if you haven't seen it already. He put out a comment on it, said, I was always honest with the coaches. I told them what was going on. That wasn't necessarily how I was treated. My offer, wasn't there. He made it pretty clear he wasn't happy about it, but he did at the end of it wish Tennessee and their coaches well. I thought it was if you're going to do it, I thought he did it in a classy way. But the question is, does the Tim Hart thing worry anyone here? You're going to have those in college. The better you are at recruiting, the better your team gets, the more you have of that crap. Still crap in my book.
He was offered a blue shirt. So they didn't
completely cool him, but it still wasn't what he thought he was going to get.
Right, and what that means is you stop recruiting him. You can't bring him in for an official visit. He can come in, he can play, and he will be on scholarship. They've got 4 people that blue shirted that are on the team right now. So the thing is, if you're going to do that, you want to make sure you do it in time for him to find another home. Mm-hmm. But they did it with 4 other players last year. Now, here's the thing, though. Did these other 4 know in advance, and all of a sudden he was surprised by this?
Well, you see it a lot of schools. And, guys, you see a lot of people every year that transfer because of this. Yeah. Blue shirt, they're asked a blue shirt, and they leave. I know that there was a kid from LSU who decided to go to Kentucky. He wound up transferring back to LSU. But still, you're thinking you're going to get X, and then a couple weeks, 3 weeks before signing day, we're going to change that to a Y. I kind of side with the kid here that, yes, I'm still getting a scholarship, but it's not what you promised me. Do you think that will hurt at all with Memphis recruiting or no?
Well, I think Tennessee, Butch Jones and this crew is smart enough to have anticipated what the ramifications would be and are managing that. But I will say a couple of years ago they had a guy that they pulled a scholarship from fairly late in the game, and I just had to be in the office one day when his high school coach called me, and he was mad as heck and said Tennessee would never ever get another one of his players. So that potential's out there. You got to manage it.
If there's a silver lining, this is not a public school in Memphis. If you did it to a kid at a public school in Memphis, there would probably be a greater backlash than there would be for somebody in private school.
I thought some of this was predictable in the sense you've got so many fewer scholarships available. I mean, you're down from just over 30 to 22 or 23. So as this process goes along and we get closer to National Signing Day, you're going to have more of these type problems just because you've got fewer numbers.
Well, some linebacker was going to get it because they had 3 linebackers, and they were going to find some way to change one of them, and that was what they did.
Well, I don't think it's going to hurt, but I don't have time for we're going to move on. Have you got something good? 10 seconds?
I'm just confused by the whole blue shirt thing.
Okay. So we're going to have, look it up online. I was going to say something, now my train of thought's lost, so we'll go on. Friday, we learned that Colorado had released Sherron Jones to return to Tennessee. First of all, yes, it's happened before because the NCAA actually has a rule that says if there's within a 2-week window, kid can change his mind. Kudos to the NCAA for once. That's one thing that actually goes in the kids' favor. Kudos to Mike McIntyre, the coach at Colorado, who had been planning on this guy, and here we are 2 weeks before signing day, and now he doesn't have him. He didn't have to release him. I think a lot of guys would have said, no, you're going to sit there and you have to tough it out. And maybe he would have said, well, just get lost and not give him the full release to return to UT. I thought that was a class move on both of those guys. However, how odd is it that Sherron Jones went, changed his mind, called the coaches and said, sorry, I want to come back, and they let him? You ever seen anything like that before?
No.
Am I forgetting one?
No.
And does that maybe not speak to the culture over at Tennessee? That you've got something good, and even a kid who can go a lot of places and play, would rather come back to Tennessee, take his chances.
And the coaches let him. Yeah.
Does him coming back to Tennessee mean some other guy's going to get this blue shirt deal?
There you go. Guys, your thoughts on Sharon Jones returning?
I thought it was interesting. The story I'd been told was that Jones really didn't want to leave. His parent, there was some parental influence. He got to Colorado. He really disliked it. He went to class, and that triggered the transfer deal where Colorado has to count him on their numbers and still release him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is pretty, which is noble of Colorado to do that. But he just didn't like Colorado, didn't want to be there, so back to
I'm
Tennessee.
surprised he didn't keep going on back to L.A. where he's from, on back to California. You would have thought there would have been a school or a program where he might have been a better fit going on that direction instead of coming back.
I was expecting a different answer out of you about liking or not liking Colorado for various reasons. All right. Tennessee looked bad this past week against Vanderbilt. Then, of course, 3 days later, they looked great against South Carolina. We'll discuss with Mark Pankratz which is the real Tennessee basketball team. Come on back.